What's up guys, welcome to another tutorial, and in this tutorial I'll be showing you how to add text in Photoshop and how to style text in Photoshop. So what we're going to do, we're going to dive into our tool panel and select our text tool. Either you click on it or you press button T and it activates it. Now there are two ways to do your write-up on Photoshop. One, you can create a text box, and two, you can just simply click and start typing. Personally, I like to create a text box. I don't know about you guys, but you can do whatever you want. Is your choice. So the first one is to click and you just start typing what you want. You notice this one kind of like goes outside frame, so outside the canvas, so you can just press enter to kind of control it and things like that. But for me, what I do is I just left click, hold it down and drag across and leave it, so that whatever I do stays within the text box. So as you reduce the size of this, it just comes down to something like this. So yes, this is what we have. So let's assume I'm going to have to type something else, which is like game, right? Don't worry about the font, it's kind of funny, right? I was working on something. Anyways, so for the font, how to change font, right? Now let's change this font to something that is more legible, something we can see. So I'm going to go to my font panel, you just choose, let's use the popular one, or let's use something else. Okay, so I'm just going to increase the size of this by just highlighting and rolling my scroll bar on my mouse. And let's say we're using this size, for example. Now we have this. Now, how do I style this font? Now, we're talking about adding colors and some other stuff, right? So now I'm on the font, right? I'm just going to click on T. Again, go to the top, click on this and just kind of like change the color to something more interesting. Let's just use red, for example. So now this is done. I'm just going to now go to the other menu, like I always call it. On the layer panel, you go to the text layer, you double click on this empty space, left click twice, and it opens this panel for you, the layer style. Now let's style this font, right? Now we have the blending options, and we have the bevel and emboss, we have the contour, texture, stroke, inner shadow, inner glow, satin, color, gradient over the pattern over the outer glow, and shadow. Right, drop shadow, right. So now let's see how this works with this text. I'm going to make this bigger so I think you can kind of like get a hang of it. Double click on that, like I said. Click on bevel, you have this effect of like a 3D feel, right? So now it doesn't function unless you click on the layer. For example, I tick it, but it's not, I can't do any settings here because the settings here are just simply on my blending options, right? So I'm just going to click on it, and then you see contour, you see texture. When you add contour, you can add texture. You see what happens there. So now I can like adjust the texture, the scale. I can also work on the depth, how I want it to, how visible I want it to be. You can see that, right? This is how it works. This is how it works. So let's see, I'm done with this. Really, I'm not really a fan of this one, but let's just keep it there, right? So if I go to stroke, activate stroke. I can add multiple strokes to this, right? I can add multiple strokes to this if I want to. So I don't want so many. I can just leave this. And then on stroke, now you can see there's an outside position and there's an inside position and the center position. So we're going to be using either inside or outside. Anyone you choose to use is your choice. So let's use the outside, for example. And the blend mode is on normal. You can also change the blend mode of the stroke to fit anything we are designing. Now this is the opacity. So for the size, you can simply hold and drag this knob. It becomes something like this. So we're kind of like standing the price. You may not really like this color. You can come here, click on this color, change the color to something maybe black. Yeah, I think black is cool. You can also drop the opacity of this by just simply reducing it. It becomes transparent. If you have like a design at the background, you see how beautiful this comes out a lot of times. That's for stroke. So we're going to go to inner shadow. Now inner shadow gives your text a kind of like depth in your design. It gives you that feeling that, oh, it's kind of like an embroidery, or kind of like it was kind of like cut inside your design. So having this stroke, this inner shadow, right, you can adjust here the angles of your shadow where you want it to be. And then you can also set the distance to either go deeper, you feel me? So you can also like choke it more, add increase the choke to make it more solid and sharp, or you can reduce it, or you can add soft, which goes for the size, and make it look something more like this. Right? You can do it as much as you want, not like making that too much, so it doesn't look funny. And I can reduce the distance a little bit more, and also drop the opacity if I want, or increase the opacity if I want. And that's it. That's just it about that. So these are different ways you can style your fonts on your design. So I can turn this off and go to inner glow. Now you might not see this because it's more of like it's on a white background, right? So let's go back and change the color of the background. Come back here and make this. I'm trying to understand what this gives. I'm kind of going to draw a shape around this. Take it under the text. Let's give it black, for example. And I'll go back to the text layer, double click and go back to inner glow. So when you click on inner glow, you notice there's a difference now, right? So now if you increase the opacity of this, you can see it's glowing on the inside. So we can now increase the size to make it look like it's kind of like a light. It's light, kind of like there's light on it, right? You light it up, kind of thing. So let's say we have this tone and I also have satin tone on. You can see what that's doing right now. You can drop the opacity to or increase it to give you that kind of like feeling, right? So, but we don't need the satin for now. You can also change the color of the satin if you want to something brighter or something more that fits what you're doing, and you can kind of like work on the distance and the size and the opacity of what you're doing. So yeah, that's it. So we'll turn this on off. We'll come back to gradient, and then gradient you can also work on your opacity. You can also change from gradient to linear to gradient to radial to angle to reflected to diamond, depending on what you want to achieve. And you can increase the scale. Right, so the scale is there. I can go to angle and so on. You can also increase and adjust this. You can come here also to your drop down arrow to select another kind of gradient. I kind of like save my gradients. So but it's unreflected right now, so you may not get it on angle. So I leave it on linear, it's kind of like something like this. So I can just like simply just change this, and I can also save my gradients. So that's for that. There's also a pattern that you can use to work with this to give it kind of like texture on your design or on your text. So that's that about that. For the outer glow, remember we also talked about the inner glow. So now this is the tone for the outer glow. For outer glow, we can increase the opacity or change it. We're going to get something like more of a reddish feel. I can make this like red, increase the noise, or rather something. Actually, let's do it white. Yeah, kind of like spreading out kind of thing, right? I think white will be cool. But on the black background, it doesn't really work out well. So it depends on the background I use. I like to work with my background style and color. That way, it gives me more like make it feel it belongs to the space that I'm designing in. And last but not least, for this one, I have to turn off this black because I want to use black for this one now, right? I'm going to double click on it again, and I'm going to give it a drop down shadow. Yeah, so I'm just going to give it this one, drop shadow. Then I'm going to like work on the opacity. You can explore the settings as much as you want and the blend modes. It depends on what you want to achieve, right? I'm just giving you an overview of what this thing does and how it is. So I can do this. I can give it a distance if I want. I can change it to look wow, like it's already looking like awesome, right? I can give you this glass effect if I wanted at the background to make it like bounce or pop. Now I'm making the text pop out more, right? Imagine we have this, and we have a stroke around it, right? And this stroke possibly has maybe, just give it a stroke in yellow, right? So I'm just going to, the opacity is already perfectly in order. I can increase the size to give you more of that feeling. You get me? So yeah, so guys, this is how you kind of like do your basic layer style for your text, and I hope this tutorial was helpful in so many ways. And this is basically for the newbies, right? Just like myself. So everyone is going to learn, definitely. So guess I'll see you in the next tutorial. Sorry this was a little bit long. Stay awesome, stay creative. I'll see you in the next tutorial.